This week on Jerusalem Dateline, we take you right inside Jerusalem's annual march through the streets of the city.
Brazil, I love Israel.
Shalom Israel!
Plus, an exclusive interview with a U.S. congressman who just days ago nearly voted for war or peace in the Middle East. Plus, Scott Ross talks to two Israelis about what it's like living in God's promised land. All this and more this week on Jerusalem Dateline.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. We're coming to you from the middle of the Jerusalem March, part of the celebration of the Feast of Tabernacles at this time of year. One other biblical tradition is when thousands of Christians and Jews go to the Western Wall during this time.
It's called the Birkat HaKohanim, or priestly blessing.
It's the holiest site on earth.
Yeah?
It's one of the largest Jewish gatherings for prayer service. How can we miss it?
And God is right here with us, and to see it live here is it's an amazing, special.
In the book of Numbers, God commands Moses and Aaron to bless the children of Israel.
The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace.
The Aaronic benediction, or blessing, is part of Jewish prayers every day in Israel. But during Sukkot, Jewish people gather from around the world at the Western Wall to receive this ancient blessing.
It's an unforgettable experience since there were so many people united, praying one of the most important blessings of the Jewish community, and everybody receiving the blessing.
Jewish men who are believed to be of the priestly line come to bless the people of Israel. And the more that come to bless and be blessed, the better.
Everyone comes together for the holiday. It's a better blessing. Everyone's trying to grab the blessing.
With the Iranian nuclear threat looming and trouble elsewhere in the Middle East, how important is the blessing this year?
Of course it's important, but last year was important, next year it's important.
Today we're living in a time of turmoil where there is a tendency of the Islamic world that want to destroy Israel. And here you can see the faith of the Jewish people that this will never happen.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, the Western Wall, Jerusalem.
For more news about what's happening here in Jerusalem, Israel, and the Middle East, here's our weekly news wrap-up.
Hello everyone, I'm George Thomas with your Jerusalem Dateline News Wrap. President Obama's wish to meet with Iranian President Hassan Rouhani at the UN General Assembly in New York, well, it did not happen. The White House says the Iranians turned down a potential handshake at the UN, saying it would be, quote, too complicated back in Iran. Hardline clerics in that country called the U.S. the Great Satan. In his first speech to world leaders, President Rouhani took repeated digs at America and the West. He did tell the General Assembly that his nation is ready to restart stalled negotiations over its nuclear program. The Obama administration says it is prepared to discuss restarting talks with Iran. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is warning the West not to be fooled by Rouhani's conciliatory words. Netanyahu's spokesman said Israel is open to a genuine agreement that would dismantle Iran's military nuclear program.
What we're concerned about is under this smokescreen of professed good intentions, that Iran is taking a page out of the North Korean playbook, that in professing their commitment to non-proliferation, that they are illicitly continuing to build a nuclear weapon. And all the facts point in that direction.
Netanyahu welcomed Obama's pledge that Iran's words must be backed up with transparent and verifiable action. He said he looked forward to discussing the matter with Obama at the White House this month. After World War II, Holocaust survivors in Eastern Europe were trapped behind the Iron Curtain. By the time communism collapsed, many of those who immigrated to Israel were too old to care for themselves. Today, a lot of them are living below the poverty line. That's where CBN's Operation Blessing is stepping in, helping to bridge the gap.
In June of 1942, Sarah Gut and her family were rounded up by Nazi soldiers and sent to a Jewish ghetto in Ukraine. Almost 70 years later, Sarah still carries the scars of the Holocaust.
We were constantly beaten by the whips. They also had terrible dogs. I was beaten by a dog here.
Life in the ghetto was brutal, but for Sarah, the escape was even worse.
When the Germans fled, they bombed us a lot. In one bombing, we ran outside, and my husband was killed right away. I fell into a basement with my child, who died next.
For 3 days, Sarah was buried alive. She never fully recovered from her injuries, and today, it's hard for her to get out of bed. Like many Holocaust survivors in Israel, Sarah lives below the poverty line. That's why Operation Blessing Israel is reaching out to help.
Many of them were only able to immigrate to Israel in 1989. When they were able to come, they were much older. Many of them were not able to work, and they weren't able to speak the language. So not only did they come with nothing, but when they arrived here, they weren't able to provide for themselves.
Most of Sarah's small pension goes to medicine, and there's not much left for food. So once a month, she makes a list, and a team from Operation Blessing buys her groceries. Sarah looks forward to the visits from her new friends.
They know that we're Christian, and they welcome us. There's something that happens, and I think it's reconciliation, isn't it? And it's certainly what Jesus calls us to.
Thank you. We are not many of us left alive. I don't know how to thank you for remembering us.
Great story. And to learn more about Operation Blessing's work in Israel, check out our Jerusalem Dateline webpage. You can find it at cbnnews.com.
Coming up, we talk with Congressman Doug Lamborn about his views on the civil war in Syria, the future fate of Jerusalem, and more.
Not that chemical weapons shouldn't be condemned, because they should, but President Obama's leadership has been lacking in the Middle East.
Hi, my name is Breda. I'm just your typical 9-year-old. I love singing, dancing, reading, discovering the simple truth. My grandpa says you're never too young or old to learn the value of a dog. He taught me the true value of this paper dog. You see this little gold coin? It says $1 on it. But guess what? That was a long time ago. Today, this gold dollar is worth over 100 paper dollars. This paper dollar is now only worth 1 penny compared to America's former money, the gold dollar. My grandpa says the only money worth saving today is real money, gold or silver coins. He's pretty smart. How our paper dollars lost their value, he says. It's all explained in a new book, The Great Debasement. It's easy and fun to read. If you call the number on the screen, I will send you a copy totally free. Next time, I will explain the simple truth about money.
If an emergency happened right now, you can have help at the push of a button with Medical Alert.
Remember when I took that fall, Mary?
Oh, yes, that was terrible.
Yes, it was.
Help!
And I thought, what if you hadn't been there? I ordered my Medical Alert the next day.
I can't describe how safe I feel now with my Medical Alert. You didn't know I was wearing it, did you?
Medical Alert is easy to install, waterproof, and covers you inside your home and out.
It helps me feel safe from fires, break-ins.
And of course, a Medical Alert. And if you don't have a home phone, don't worry. They have that covered.
There's always help at the push of a button. Don't wait till you need it.
Get Medical Alert for less than $1 a day. There are no long-term contracts. Order now and get your second button free. Call for your free brochure.
For your free Medical Alert system with second button free, call 800-575-8507.
While people are celebrating here in Jerusalem, not far away, there's a civil war going on in Syria. We talked about that issue and many others with Congressman Doug Lamborn. Congressman Lamborn, thanks for joining us. You're here in Jerusalem. What's the purpose of your visit here?
Chris, we're here with the Israel Allies Caucus. That consists of people like myself in Congress who support Israel and other parliamentarians and congressmen around the whole world. We have 20 countries represented here at this conference.
And you're coming out with a statement. What's the purpose and what's the meaning behind your statement?
The press statement we're coming out with, Chris, is objecting strenuously to the European Union. Some within it are saying that there should be a boycott against Israel. They want to issue guidelines saying that Israel should be punished because They're haven't agreed with the Palestinians on the Palestinians' concerns, and so any institutions beyond the 67 border lines need to be boycotted, and that's intolerable.
And do you think it's important for legislators like you and around the world to be kind of making statements like this and supporting the state of Israel?
Anytime that we can lift our voices for the right thing, for the truth, we should do that. Israel is discriminated against many times. This latest thing by the European Union is one more example, and we just want to help balance things out.
You know, you had a vote, a possible vote just a week or two ago concerning Syria. How do you think the U.S. is faring in its foreign policy here in the region?
Chris, I would have voted against that resolution, and it would have gone down decisively. Not that chemical weapons shouldn't be condemned, because they should, but President Obama's leadership has been lacking in the Middle East, and I just don't think he would know what to do when the next shoe drops. So, not trusting his leadership, I couldn't support the use of military force by the U.S. This is a troubling development. I'm concerned that Russia now has sort of the lead hand as relates to Syria. Russia can't be trusted either, and I think the chemical weapons ultimately came from Russia, or the technology. So how they are the good guy in this, I don't understand.
Now, how would you want to see U.S. policy changed in the region?
First of all, there needs to be more leadership and engagement. We need to concentrate on trouble spots like Syria, like Egypt, like Iran. I think giving aid to the Free Syrian Army is the way to go. They apparently outnumber the Sunni jihadist elements, which are not a good development if they were to take control in Syria or carve out territory in Syria. But there are free democratic elements that are relatively better, we should be supporting. That's where we should concentrate.
Do you think there's a sense among the American public that they just want to sort of disassociate themselves with what's going on here in the Middle East, whether it's Egypt or Syria or even Iran?
There is some weariness, you might say, but also I think there's some concern that this administration doesn't really have a clear path forward, and that's what causes concern.
Yeah, and how about Iran? I know Iran's probably going to come up. There's a possibility that I think President Obama might talk to President Rouhani, the new elected leader of Iran. How do you think the U.S. should be relating to Iran right now?
Well, it's good to try. It's good to try to talk, and we are doing some economic sanctions. However, the administration has given waivers to many of the big oil users, oil buyers from Iran, so that has only limited effect. We need to have tougher sanctions, go against financial institutions, for instance, that do business with Iran. So we can do more there. Unfortunately, the State Department and the administration have been softening the sanctions that are in force or that were proposed to come forward, and we're not doing what we should there. We're not doing enough.
Yeah, and last question, Congressman. How important is it for the U.S. to be standing with Israel at this time? And here in the city, you were here in the city of Jerusalem. How important is it to be standing with Israel?
Chris, it's so important to stand with Israel. There are one democratic ally in this region. They are a true source of intelligence and technology. We share the same Judeo-Christian ethic, and I just think it's critical to support Israel. And the administration, once again, can be doing more. I think we've unfortunately picked some fights with Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israelis on settlements and other things that are really side issues and are not the priority. The priority is to deal with the trouble spots like Egypt, like Iran, like Syria.
Great. Thanks for joining us, Congressman.
Good to talk to you, Chris.
Up next, CBN's Scott Ross traveled to the center of what the world calls the West Bank, but the place many Jews believe is the heartland of the Bible.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
Welcome back to Jerusalem Dateline. One of the biggest questions facing Israel and even the world is the future and fate of the land known as the West Bank, but some call it the biblical lands of Judea and Samaria. Scott Ross talked to two people who believe they're living in God's promised land.
Known to much of the world as the West Bank, Judea and Samaria of the Bible is today home to some 360,000 Jewish Israelis and at least 1.4 million Palestinian Arabs.
Shiloh.
Shiloh.
The first capital of ancient Israel.
That's right.
The place where the tabernacle stood for 369 years.
Whoa. David Rubin is the former mayor of Shiloh, the place pronounced Shiloh in hundreds of biblically named places in America. We talked together overlooking the route in which the biblical patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob would have traveled.
This is where Joshua stood before the Israelites and he said, "How long will you wait before coming to take possession of the land that the Lord God of your fathers has given you?" This is the place where the woman Hannah came to pray for a son. The son who was born from her prayers was Samuel the prophet, who grew up into prophecy in Shiloh, along with the people of Israel.
And that is the issue that remains today. This is the land that God gave you.
As a special responsibility to cherish it and to take care of it.
Reuben's commitment to the land came at a personal price when he and his son were ambushed by terrorists while traveling on the road home.
The car was hit by a massive hail of bullets, and I was shot in my leg. My son was shot in the head.
Is your son still alive today?
Thank God my son is alive today. He had a miraculous recovery. The bullet missed his brainstem by 1 millimeter.
Why do people choose to live in the middle of the threat of violence, their children, so forth, being exposed to this? Why do people want to be here?
We've come home. We're fulfilling prophecy in these times.
Some 230 Israeli families live in Shiloh today, 35 years after it was reestablished in 1978. And yet Palestinian Authority Chairman Mahmoud Abbas said recently that a future Palestinian state in this area must be completely free of Jews.
There never was a Palestinian state. It's all an illusion. It's all a political game by the Islamic world to try and make sure that Israel doesn't have the right to exist anymore. And
how do you feel about the land for peace negotiations? You give up the land, there's going to be peace.
It's time for a new plan, which is called Peace for Peace.
Which is?
Which is, we extend our hand in peace, they extend their hand in peace, we shake it and we have peace, we sign a peace treaty, and all is well.
Shiloh is in biblical Samaria, north of Jerusalem. Judea and Samaria, including the Jordan Valley, is 79 miles long and between 19 and 34 miles wide. To the south of Jerusalem and Bethlehem is a large block of Jewish communities in Judea called the Gush Etzion, in another part of what the world calls the West Bank.
We're at the highest point in Gush Etzion. We're on the backbone of the hills that control the lowlands in both directions. And that is the Mediterranean Sea and the coastal plain, Tel Aviv, Ashdod, Ashkelon, down to Gaza. And we can see the rockets come out of there. And when you look this way, and we look east, we're looking towards Jordan. First we have the hills here, which belong to Gush Etzion. They go from Hebron all the way up to Jerusalem, and there's Jordan on the other side. That's it, that's all we got. This is the width, and we're on top.
Ruthie Lieberman is a wife and mother. Originally from Ohio, she is raising her family in a community called Alon Shivot, which means return to the oak tree in Gush Etzion. Jews established several farming communities here before the State of Israel in 1948. But during Israel's War of Independence, they were destroyed and the residents killed or driven away. After the 1967 Six-Day War, the Jews returned to rebuild here. Who are your neighbors?
I think having Lebanon in the north, Syria to the northeast, but then we come around and have Egypt to the south. We're not in a great area.
There are 24 Muslim states surrounding Israel from Morocco to Iran, more than 8 million square miles of land, more than 500 times the size of Israel, where some 500 million people live. Judea and Samaria stand between Israel's major population centers and the Arab world. Without it, in some places, Israel is just 9 miles wide.
The Arabs, many factions, Palestinians, hate the Jews. Do you hate the Arabs?
I don't think the Arabs who live nearby in the village over there, I don't think they hate me. I think they're taught to hate me. We have our Arab friend, whom I know by name, I know his profession, I know the names of his kids. He's behind the cheese counter with this huge cleaver. And he's there, you know, what can I get you? And he's our friend. And I'm not afraid. I'm actually encouraged.
20 years ago, then Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin and PLO leader Yasser Arafat signed the Oslo Accords and shook hands on the White House lawn. And still, there is no peace.
Do you see that this could possibly become a future Palestinian state?
If it were to become a Palestinian state, I would imagine that it would be because there's some huge breakthrough and the whole world believes that now we have peace in this part of the world. And if that's true, then I can live here. I'm Jewish. I bought the land, and I should be able to keep my home. In every talks that we hear, we're out of the picture. We'll have to pack up and go.
The scriptures teach us to pray for Jerusalem, pray for Israel. Do you think it makes any difference?
I hope that all of you continue to pray for Jerusalem every day. It strengthens us, it strengthens our psyche, it strengthens our hopes. We know that we're not alone.
Up next, what's it like to join Israelis in their annual Jerusalem March? Come to the city during the Feast of Tabernacles.
Grace, music is unpredictable.
I know I have what it takes.
The Dove Foundation raves. Grace Unplugged is remarkable and inspiring.
This is not about the music, it's about everything else that goes with it.
Dad, were you watching me?
A moving and meaningful film.
This book, his words shook me. It was like my whole world.
That parents and teens should see together, says Focus on the Family.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna drag her back home?
Yeah, I might. I think maybe you're fighting God. Just stop running.
Grace Unplugged, rated PG, in theaters October 4th.
If you had a choice between going bald and a full head of hair, which would you choose? Advances in medical science have resulted in the world's first and only permanent solution to hair loss.
Yes!
You wash it, you cut it. It's your own real, naturally growing hair. When it comes to hair restoration, no one in the world has more experience than Bosley. The results look completely natural and are affordable on nearly any budget. But the entire process can't be explained in 60 brief seconds. So to find out more about this clinically proven and permanent solution to hair loss, call now to receive your free no-obligation information kit. It'll answer all of your questions about hair loss and hair restoration. Plus, we'll also send you this $250 gift certificate just for calling. Every day you wait, you're losing more hair. So don't put it off any longer. You owe it to yourself to find out the facts. Choose hair. Choose Bosley.
Call 800-868-9957. That's 800-868-9957.
Grace, music is unpredictable.
I know I have what it takes.
The Dove Foundation raves. Grace Unplugged is remarkable and inspiring.
This is not about the music, it's about everything else that goes with it.
Dad, were you watching me?
A moving and meaningful film
This book, his words shook me. It was like my whole world.
that parents and teens should see together, says Focus on the Family.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna drag her back home?
Yeah, I might. I think maybe you're fighting God. Just stop running.
Grace Unplugged, rated PG, in theaters October 4th.
Welcome back to Jerusalem Dateline. During the Feast of Tabernacles, thousands of Christians come from all over the world to celebrate the feast. Julie Stahl talks to some of them about what it means to come here to Jerusalem.
I came because I wanted to support Israel and I love the Jewish people.
Oh, yes.
Why? Because the Lord loves them and I love everything the Lord loves. Hallelujah. Thank you.
We are Christians from Russia, from the at most eastern part of Russia. We bless Israel. We pray for Israel every day, 2 times a day.
We are not afraid. We have to come here and we have to express that we support Israel. And we have to show everybody that they have a right to exist and that we are friends of Israel.
God has these people as his own people, and we are his people through Yeshua, Jesus Christ.
Yes, it's very excited. Yeah, we enjoy the joy here. I'm from China.
I think it's lovely to have all these people from all over the world coming to support Israel, and thank you all for coming.
Hello, America. Hello, America. You are a very good country. You are very nice.
The Bible says whoever blesses Israel will be blessed. I think it's God's designed to bless Israel, not marginalize them, not persecute them, not say Christians have replaced them, because they haven't. I'm a Christian.
They are gypsies from Sweden.
I think as long as Abby's there, it's fine.
In Singapore, bless Israel. We love Israel because Israel came and helped us, and now we are so blessed because of Israel.
Yeah? How did Israel help you?
Israel come and help us to form an army.
We come to bless Israel, to stand with Israel.
It's wonderful to be part of it and just to really bless the people of Israel here on this day and be part of such an international gathering.
All the time we think that people hate us. We're a small country that makes a lot of noise. And to see that everybody is loving us, it's really give a special feeling to the heart.
Every day I pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Yeah, because this place is the most important place, I think, in the world.
It's a matter of understanding, because the media sometimes put the wrong stuff in the wrong place. It's the safest place in the earth. It's not a problem to come into Israel. I invite you that see this news that it's the safest place. It's a joy. The Bible comes alive.
Woo! Brazil love Israel.
Well, as you can imagine, coming here to Jerusalem during the feast is quite meaningful. Well, that's it for this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. This is Chris Mitchell coming to you from the Jerusalem March. See you next time right here in Jerusalem. Yay!